You know that moment? It's 3 in the afternoon. You're not hungry. You ate lunch 90 minutes ago. But somehow, without making a real decision, you're standing in front of the open refrigerator, not looking for anything specific. 5 minutes later, you've closed the door and you're eating something. You weren't hungry. You didn't even really want it. But there you are. If that sounds like you, here's the question almost nobody asks. Why? There was no biological signal. So what was actually driving you to eat? In a moment, I'll show you why there are 4 completely different reasons humans eat when their bodies don't need fuel, and why a simple 2-second test can tell you, with almost perfect accuracy, whether you're actually hungry or your brain is just pretending to be. By the end of this video, you'll understand more about your eating patterns than 90% of the doctors and nutritionists who told you to just eat less. Quick question: when do you find yourself eating when you're not actually hungry? Late afternoon? At night? In front of a screen? Tell me in the comments. The pattern itself is the first clue. You're not weak. You're disconnected from a signal your body sends, and you've been taught to respond to 4 other things as if they were that signal. Once you can tell them apart, everything changes. The first force is the one almost nobody names because it sounds too simple. Boredom. You eat because you're understimulated. When your brain is bored, it looks for stimulation. The fastest, cheapest form available is food. Eating engages taste, smell, texture, dopamine, all at once. It's not hunger, it's a search for sensory input. The second force is the one most people partially recognize but mislabel: emotional eating. You eat to regulate a feeling: anxiety, sadness, loneliness, even excitement. Food triggers dopamine, dopamine quiets the emotional noise, and you feel slightly better for 15 minutes. The hunger isn't in your stomach, it's in your nervous system. The third force is the one almost nobody talks about: social eating. You eat because other people are eating. At a dinner table, you finish your plate because everyone else is finishing theirs. At a party, you take from the appetizer tray. At the office, someone brings cookies, and you take one because someone else took one. None of this is hunger. It's social synchronization, so unconscious that you often don't notice until the food is gone. The fourth force is the most invisible: conditioned eating. You eat because the clock said so, or the situation said so. You eat lunch at noon because noon is when you eat lunch. You eat popcorn at the movies because the seat has been associated with popcorn 10,000 times. You eat dessert after dinner because dinner ends with dessert. These habits are so deep that the situation triggers the behavior before hunger ever comes up. So here's the math nobody told you. Most of the eating in a modern adult's life is not driven by hunger. It's driven by boredom, emotion, social presence, or habit. 4 different forces, and almost everyone calls all 4 of them hunger, when not one of them is. Dr. Stanley Schachter at Columbia proved this in 1968 in what's now called externality theory. Some people, when they're full, will keep eating if food is in front of them. Their decision to eat isn't coming from inside the body, it's coming from the outside cue. Quick pause here. If this is the first time you've heard your eating patterns explained this way, do 2 things real quick. Hit the like button. It's the only signal YouTube uses to show this video to other people who need to hear it. And subscribe to the channel, because this is part of an ongoing series telling you the truth about your body that almost no one else is willing to explain clearly. Now let's keep going. So how do you tell? In any specific moment, whether the urge to eat is hunger or one of the other 4, there's a test. It takes 2 seconds, and it works almost every time. It's called the apple test. The next time you feel the urge to eat, ask yourself one question. If the only thing available to me right now was a plain apple, would I want it? If the answer is yes, eat the apple. You were actually hungry. If the answer is no, and it almost always is no, you weren't hungry. You wanted something specific. That's not hunger. That's one of the other 4 forces. Real hunger doesn't care what the food is. Real hunger wants calories, period. The moment your brain rejects the apple but accepts the cookie, you have your answer. You weren't hungry. You wanted something else, and your brain dressed it up as hunger to give you permission. So here's what to actually do. First, build a 5-minute pause. The next time you feel the urge to eat outside a planned meal, just wait 5 minutes. Watch what happens to the urge. Most of the time, it changes shape. You realize you were bored, or anxious, or just walking past the kitchen. Second, run the apple test. If you wouldn't eat a plain apple right now, you're not hungry. Third, name the force: boredom, emotion, social, or conditioned. Then give the real need what it actually wants. Bored, move, change rooms, call someone. Anxious, breathe, walk, write. Social, drink water and engage. Conditioned, disrupt the pattern by changing the chair, time, or context. You're not always hungry, you're always eating. Those are completely different problems. And once you can tell the difference, food stops being a question of willpower. It becomes a question of accurate listening. Your body knows what it needs. Your brain has just learned to translate every uncomfortable feeling into the same answer. The work isn't to eat less. The work is to listen more honestly. Tell me in the comments, which of the four did you recognize most in yourself? Boredom, emotional, social, or conditioned? Be honest. Naming it is the first step in changing it. I read every single comment. See you in the next one.